Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. It's fantastic to see so many of you here. My name is Louise Campbell and I lead the Careers Network here at Smurfit Business School. I'm especially pleased to be joined this afternoon by a wonderful panel of UCD Smurfit alumni. We have Dara Kennedy, Katrina Lefebvre-Leda, and Twisha Soni. I will be inviting each of them to introduce themselves properly a little later on in the conversation. Before we dive into the discussion, I'm going to start with a brief overview of the Careers Network and the role that we play within the wider business school community. And after that, we'll turn to our panel for some insights and reflections. And we will finish with 5 minutes at the end for any questions that you might have. Throughout the webinar, please do feel free to put in any questions that you have in the chat function, and we will try and answer as many of them as possible at the end. So without further ado, let's get started. What is the UCD Smurfit Careers Network? The Careers Network in UCD Smurfit Business School plays both a strategic and an operational role in supporting students' professional development and career success. So a high-level overview of its functions. I could talk about this all day, but I won't. On a high-level overview, the first thing that we do predominantly is career coaching and advisory. And now this is all about optimizing your employability outcomes, looking at things like one-on-one coaching. So we have very experienced career consultants who offer personalized sessions to help students explore their career paths, to assess their strengths, and to define their goals. We also have career planning. So again, our career consultants will support you in developing job search strategies and timelines for those strategies. Also, we look at things like mock interviews and assessments, where you can come to us and you can practice both general and competency-based interviews, which really helps you articulate your story and stand out in what is now a very competitive interview process. Throughout the year, we've got workshops and training sessions on things like CV clinics, where you can tailor your applications. We'll help you write cover letters, optimize your LinkedIn, look at your personal branding, and also look at bigger issues like networking, where we will run workshops on this. Then a big focus, I think, within Smurfit and the Careers Network is employer engagement and recruitment. So at UCD Smurfit, you will experience on-campus career days. I'm sure our panel here remember them well, where we will welcome some of Ireland's leading employers to the school, and we will allow them to engage with talent in the forms of presentations and potentially mock interviews for our students. We also have internship opportunities where we will work with employers and our corporate partners to curate roles for programs within Smurfit that offer internships. And then we also organise fun things like company visits, where we will look at organising trips to meet employers in the Irish market in key sectors across a number of industries. One last thing that we do look at, which I think is particularly helpful to students, is labour market insights. So the Careers Network gets very involved in things like trends in hiring, salaries, in-demand skills. What are employers in the marketplace looking for these days? And what are the emerging sectors? So who is hiring? And how can we take that information and use that to help our students to really continuously improve their preparation and career readiness? And it's very much based on real world input. And then lastly, within the Careers Network, we look at things like alumni and networking support. So we work very closely with our alumni team to facilitate alumni connections. Typically, this is through things like career panels and webinars. When we look at business leaders in companies across both Ireland and internationally, but predominantly in Ireland, our very own Smurfit alumni tend to make up a very large percentage of business leaders within the Irish community. We've got very strong alumni connections also on an international scale. And, we're very lucky because we find that these alumni are typically very happy to come back and share their knowledge and their insights with the next generation of talent that is coming through the doors at Smurfit. So that's a very brief overview of careers, which I hope you found useful. I'm now going to move on to the more exciting part of this presentation, as we have three UCD Smurfit alumni who I'm going to speak to. We're going to start with Dara and then Katrina, followed by Twisha. Can I please ask you all to introduce yourselves And while you are introducing yourselves, please tell us what your undergraduate degree was, followed by the course you studied at Smurfit, along with your current role and employer. So, Dara, I'm going to start with you.
Good afternoon, Louise. Thanks very much for the invitation to come back and speak to
Thank you for
everyone.
joining.
My name is Dara Kennedy. I actually studied my undergrad degree in UCD, so I started as part of the General Agricultural Science course. Initially thought that I was going to go down the kind of science, more technical route, maybe go into advisory with an organization like Chagas, but as part of the course and it being quite broad, kind of steered more towards the business end and specialized in food and agribusiness management. Going forward, then I knew I kind of wanted to work in the agri-food industry, but wasn't 100% sure. With COVID and everything being during the end of my degree, I kind of saw the masters in Smurfit. Had heard obviously the reputation of the school, spoke to a number of people who are past students, and decided that the food business strategy course was the one for me, just to kind of further my knowledge in the business area, with a particular focus on food. So post that course, or well, during the course, I applied for the Kerry graduate program, was lucky enough to make it to the final round and ultimately received an offer from the company to join their graduate program almost 3 years ago now, coming up in September, so time flies. Um, I joined the procurement department, and I now work as an associate buyer in the indirect procurement team for the European business. So essentially, the team I work in is responsible for dealing with suppliers and purchasing agreements with everything that doesn't go into the direct food and technical products that Kerry makes. So stuff like engineering services, environmental and waste, transport and distribution, supply chain, etc.
Dara, that's fantastic. Thank you. A really exciting and interesting industry to be in right now. Thank you for that. Katrina.
Hello all, I'm Katrina. I did my bachelor's at UCD, so Quinn Business School in Commerce International and Chinese. And then after 2 years of work, I decided to go back to UCD and pursue a master's in Smurfit. I did the SEMS Masters, as you can see. And now I'm in London and I'm working for Proxima. So it's part of the management consulting firm Bain and Company. And what we do is also procurement like Dara, except we work on a project by project basis. So as consultants, we will go into a firm, help them with their procurement for 2 months to a year, maybe. And then once they're back on track, we'll go away and go to another client. So it's quite diverse, and there's always a lot of problem solving going on, trying to make things more efficient.
Katrina, that's great. Thank you. You speak many languages, Katrina. Do you get the chance to use them in your job?
Yes, my last client was based in Paris, actually. So I was speaking French with them, which was really helpful because French people really enjoy speaking French and not having to speak English. So that was nice. I haven't had a Chinese client yet or an Italian client, but who knows what'll happen.
Well, they'll be very happy to meet you when you do. Thank you, Katrina. Tuisha.
Hi, Louise, and a very good evening to everyone. I'm Twisha. I did my bachelor's in commerce from Mumbai. That's where I was born and raised. And I came to Smurfit in 2022 to pursue my master's in finance. And once I completed that, just like that, I joined the graduate program, but in Bank of Ireland 2 years ago now. So I joined their corporate and commercial graduate program in the summer of 2023. My first team was in collateral management, moved over to property finance for the second one. I think by far my most favorite, because I was in the social housing team. We worked basically towards lending for different social housing bodies and affordable housing units across Ireland. So it was a very interesting, not just team but sector also to work in. And right now, currently, I'm working in the global markets team in the foreign exchange desk. There's a FX Pay product that the bank has for business customers. So I'm working on that team. Very interesting. We do a lot of work for customer analytics, customer experience, while also working towards providing them best trades. Working with certain margins. So I think it's very interesting because through the grad program, I got to see three very different sides of one division. and how each work in itself, it's like a world in itself, but also add and work in together to give the results that we do give to our customers.
Trisha, thank you very much. I'm going to go back to Dara. Dara, you did food science as your undergrad. Why did you choose to study at Smurfit?
I suppose in particular, I was obviously familiar with UCD from having studied my undergrad there, but the main reason was really just the reputation. I'd spoken to a number of people who'd completed masters in multiple different programs in Smurfit, and they couldn't speak highly enough of the place. And from speaking to employers, it definitely does mean something to have Smurfit on your CV. It definitely makes you stand out, and I suppose the network that you get of past graduates, like you were saying, previous alumni. I only have to meet people in Kerry on a daily basis, some of who are CEOs, COOs, VPs, and you'd notice that a number of them have come from Smurfit Masters. So it's definitely highly sought after and well thought of in the business industry.
That's great. Thanks, Dara. And Katrina, I'm going to come to you now again. Can you recall what surprised you most when you began your UCD Smurfit experience?
Yeah, so for people who don't know, the Smurfit campus is separate to the undergrad campus. So you're only with postgraduates when you join Smurfit. And I think I can speak for my SEMS experience, that it was a very international group, and Smurfit is a very small campus. A lot of people lived on campus actually, so it became a place where you could meet people along the corridors really easily compared to the undergrad campus, which is really massive. And also Smurfit organized a lot of events when we first arrived. So we also got to meet people from other courses, etc., which is always interesting from a people point of view, but also a future network point of view. So I think it's a great place to meet like-minded, ambitious people.
And it's very social. You're right. Absolutely. Thank you. Trisha, can I ask you the highlights of your Smurfit experience, whether that be academic or personal or both? Tell me a bit about them.
Definitely. Actually, it's interesting because one of the reasons why I did actually choose Smurfit was those experiences that you get beyond academics, and I think one of the biggest highlights of my time in Smurfit was I was lucky enough to be part of the winning team for the CFA Research Challenge that happens every year, and
Congratulations.
was part of that team. I think both personally and professional academically, that was the highlight of the year because the hours that went into it, the challenges that we faced, through those weeks and months up to the run up, I think it taught me so much more than just academics. And it's interesting because when you come into masters just from college, there's only one thing on your mind, and that's like, okay, I want to score the best grades, which is very, very important. But through the weeks and months that you spend, in Smurfit or in a college, is when you learn that life is so much more than that in college, like your master's degree is so much more than that. So for me, it was definitely that that was the highlight.
Trisha, thank you. Dara, I'm coming back to you now. While you were on the program, while you were doing your master's, were there any career-related activities that helped you with your career development?
Yeah, so I kind of took full advantage of the careers center that was there and set up a number of one-to-one sessions with the guys there and found them really helpful. More so just trying to navigate the whole applications process and really learning how to tailor my CV. So we obviously got access to the system. I can't remember the name of it now off the top of my head, but to put in our CV where it was, it would give us feedback on what it taught and where it could be improved. But what I found was really learning to tailor the CV to different applications to make sure that you're hitting the criteria that they were looking for, and then really understanding more of the insights around job specifications and not being put off by maybe some of them might seem out of reach, but knowing that maybe you're able to draw on certain skills that you mightn't have thought about that maybe you've had from, I used like part-time jobs or summer internships and all these kind of experiences and skills that I probably wasn't able to draw out myself unless I would have been speaking to someone. So I think really engaging with the team there was really valuable. And then just using the resources like there was a lot of, obviously because we were coming out of COVID, a lot of the interview process was still online, and learning how to come across on a webcam and do the if there was different stages and how to answer questions and recorded questions. And yeah, really just engaging with the resources were there, and in particular the team. I found the in-face meetings were really, really helpful.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's great to hear, Dara. And Katrina, I'm going to ask you now, after leaving us, and now that you're living in London, how have you found that the UCD Masters has impacted your current role in terms of development?
Gosh, it's something that actually comes up a lot because it's impacted a lot. And some people might think a master's is a way to delay starting working, or that it's just another year, and what big experience could really be added on top of 4 years of undergrad. But I actually have hard skills and soft skills that have come into play. For the hard skills, I had a negotiation class in Smurfit that I actually got my notes back out for a negotiation workshop I was doing with a client. I had to kind of go over best practices with them because they weren't really after the best prices. So I was kind of explaining all the terms like BATNA, ZOPA, all these things. And yeah, so I actually used quite literally my master's in my job. And then I think
Fantastic.
in terms of soft skills, a big aspect of my master's was presenting and working in teams, and you don't really realize how much it brings you until you're in a job and you realize, oh wow, I kind of have done this before, even if it was in a completely different context. I'm able to lead this meeting on short notice, or I'm able to communicate with all these kind of different stakeholders. And I found that to give me a big advantage over people starting maybe after a bachelor, or who had never done those kinds of exercises before, and being able to practice those things without having any kind of like pressure, because you're just learning and you're with your master's colleagues.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to learn, and it really gives you an advantage then once you actually come into the real world.
The real world, absolutely. You have a level of confidence, don't you? Because you've been
Exactly,
doing
yeah.
it all year in a very intense environment. Thank you, Katrina. A question I'm going to ask all three of you, actually, and I'll start with you, Trisha. What career advice would you give to somebody considering UCD Smurfit Masters here who's on the call today?
I think the one thing that has always stuck with me, and but when I think about it, is to take risks and work hard enough to make sure that they pay off.
Mm,
And secondly, would be to ask as much as you can, because I think again opportunities are not always granted. Like sometimes you have to create them. So by asking, so I think even in college, even in when you start your masters in Smurfit, and just ask, because you never know what kind of doors open up and the kind of opportunities that come your way, because they did for me. So I can say for certainty that the worst that you can hear is a no, but
mm.
the best that could happen is like you don't even know the kind of potential that it has. So I think that's my bit of advice to everybody on
I
this
think
matter.
that's great advice, Trisha. And can you give me an example of where you reached out and maybe pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone and asked when it didn't necessarily feel very natural to you?
That's and I mean, I hope I can quote something from work, because it was something very recent. I was actually there. So in Bank of Ireland, we have something called as an open door session with the CEO, and 10 individuals are selected, and from all different backgrounds, different experiences, different divisions, and we can walk into a room together and sit and have a conversation with our CEO, Miles O'Grady, the group CEO. And just after the session, I walked up to him and I said, Miles, this is a great session, but I just have one suggestion. I don't know how applicable it is, but as a graduate, I think it'll be wonderful if I can get the opportunity to shadow you for a day. And he took a second and he was like, that does sound good. Do you mind sending that over on an email to me? and he forwarded on to his team. And would you believe it? I actually got to spend an entire day with him, seeing what he does, the meetings that he attends, and the kind of work that he does. So his team, and the HR made it possible, and that wouldn't have been, a reality had I not asked him. So this is actually just one example. I can go back to several others from
Well, I think that's a
Smurfit itself.
fantastic
So
example. Not many
yeah,
people get to shadow a CEO for a day. Congratulations.
yes.
What a great
Thank you.
experience. Dara, can I ask you the same question? What career advice would you give to somebody?
I'd say definitely don't limit yourself. So no matter what your background is, if you're coming from a science, engineering, whatever your degree is, don't be put off by the fact if you've no previous commercial experience coming into the masters. In fact, I know in our own company, for example, people love to see graduates coming with a technical knowledge that then can marry that with the business background, because sometimes it's very hard to have that really in-depth technical knowledge, but be able to have the softer skills that are really important when it comes to the more commercial side of the business, and being out front facing with customers in particular is something that's really important in our business, to kind of be able to marry that technical and softer side commercial skills. And then really it's kind of just building on what Trisha said as well, is just take every opportunity. Like anytime I've gotten a room with a senior leader, I've always made sure to engage and be confident enough to speak up and ask questions and challenge them if I think that I'd like to question something that they've made. And I've always been well received, and I think definitely having the Smurfit Masters and engaging as part of the program definitely gave me that confidence that Katrina spoke about, to really be happy to engage with these more senior people in the business who might have more experience than me, but they do love to see young people coming into businesses and giving their ideas and thoughts and opinions, because the world of business is always changing, and we are going to be the leaders of the future, hopefully. So it's important that we're bringing our ideas to the table and that we are heard. So yeah, no, that's kind of the main ones for me.
Fantastic advice, Dara. And I think your point about, having that rounded skill set, it doesn't matter whether you come from a business background or not. In fact, coming from a different background can give you such a huge advantage when you're moving into the world of work. So that's a really good point. Thank you for that. Katrina, what about yourself?
I think I would go with, I agree with what both said. I think I would add on the network that Dara was talking about, now that he's in Kerry Group and he meets the CEO or the CEO, etc., and they've known Smurfit or they've been to Smurfit, etc. The network you build when you're in Smurfit, all these people that are ambitious and that are going to go very far in life, a lot of them are going to become your friends naturally, but also keep in contact on LinkedIn with them, etc. And you never know what's going to come out of it. I'm not saying to be hypocritical and to just add everyone and be like growing your network unauthentically, but I would say, of course, focusing on your grades, because recruiters do look at that more than I thought initially, actually. But also having that social aspect, that's really important and really valuable when you're in a place like Smurfit, where you can reach out to lots of different people. And for example, I moved to London, so I could reach out to people I had met in Smurfit, and for anything from jobs hunting to flat searching, etc. It's a great network, and as you go on in life, you'll always have that to kind of link with them. So yeah.
That's so true, isn't it? And I think people often underestimate the power of the Smurfit network. And certainly when you work within the Irish market, it's everywhere. And then even working overseas, I'm sure within London, there's a ton of people who, and particularly within the SEMS link, there is a ton of people who would be so happy to help you in any way, shape, or form. Everyone, thank you so much, Katrina, Dara, and Trisha. That has been so informative, and I am sure that people who are listening have found that really, really useful. I know we've got about 5 minutes left, and I don't know if any questions have come through, but I know Laura and Gillian are on the call, so if there are any questions, please feel free to shout them out.
Hi, Louise. Thank you so much. That was really insightful, and it was great to hear from all our alumni. We did have a few questions, but if anyone does have any more questions, if you want to post them into the Q&A. Louise, there was a question just about, I know it was mentioned about our careers fairs, and I think some of the students that were listening were just kind of wondering, is there many careers fairs throughout the year? Are they based in Smurfit, or are they on the UCD campus?
Aha, very good questions. We have typically every year we have 2 fairs on the Smurfit campus. So we have, you know, we call them employer days, where we get employers to come in, and they are all hiring. They are all actively looking for talent. We have one in October. And then we have another one in February. Now, this February, we're looking at a variety of different options to really see if we can make them as interactive as possible. So we might change up the format this year, actually, but we're going to get a lot of employers on site again and potentially be running mock interviews in tandem with employer presentations. But the main, the general aim of these fairs is for students to engage in a very authentic way, where they get to feel as if they're making valuable connections with employers, and the employers are feeling as if they're meeting the students, you know, and really getting a chance to be able to talk to them. I think it's very important. We also then run fairs on the Belfield campus, on the main campus in UCD, and they are of a bigger nature. They are very worthwhile going to for any master's students. We would always say, even though, you know, the majority of people who are going to be there is undergraduates, get over, meet your connection, meet your clients, meet potential hiring managers, make connections, because, you know, networking within the Irish market is so important. And I think all 3 alumni have spoken about that throughout the presentation. Just widen your network as much as you possibly can. So in total, Laura, there's 4. 2 on Smurfit, 2 in Belfield.
Great. And I think we've maybe time for one more question. It was just in relation to CVs. I know Dara mentioned a really good point there about how you have to alter your CV to, you know, to the job that you're actually applying for. Does Smurfit provide any guidance or advice within CV preparation and making a good CV?
We do, we absolutely do. I think all of our Smurfit students will get access to our platform, which Dara mentioned. It's called My Careers, and within that you have the tech capabilities to be able to craft your CV. Then you'll come to the Careers Network, and we will certainly help you fine-tune that. Whether you want to work in consulting, within finance, within marketing. As I said, we've a lot of data on the market. We've a lot of insights into employers within the Irish market. So we know the right notes to hit, and we know what employers are looking for. So we will help you through one-on-one consultations, craft that CV, and really, more importantly, craft your story, so that when you do get in front of an employer, you're able to talk about yourself and tell your stories in a way that will make you as employable as possible.
Great, thank you, Louise. That's actually all our questions. We've them all answered.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Laura. Well, I would just like to finish up by saying a huge thank you to our alumni panel. I think they are testament to the strength of the Smurfit network, and I really do appreciate the 3 of you coming here today. Katrina, Dara, Tuisha, thank you so much. And we look forward to speaking with you again at some stage in the future, but wishing you the very best of luck in your careers. They all sound absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure you will all thrive. So thank you again. And
Thanks, Louise. Pleasure.
Thanks very much.
you.
Yeah.
That is the end of the webinar. Thank you all very much for listening, and goodbye.